The little boy stood at the edge of the broken runway with his hands shoved deep into his coat pockets, staring at the gray sky as if it might answer him. Every plane that roared overhead sounded the same, loud, distant, uncaring. Hunger had made time feel heavy, and hope felt dangerous. Then one plane dipped its wings, just slightly, like it was waving. The boy squinted. Something fell from the sky. Not bombs. Candy. In that moment, in a ruined city still smelling of war, a child learned that kindness could fall from the clouds. Before we dive deeper into this true story, take a second. If stories of humanity, hope, and real heroes matter to you, like this video and subscribe to the channel. These stories deserve to be remembered, and you help keep them alive. The war had ended, but Berlin didn't feel like peace. In 1945, the city was a skeleton of itself. Buildings torn open, streets reduced to rubble, families surviving on ration cards and prayers. Children learned to play among ruins, their laughter quieter than before. Food was scarce, fuel scarcer, and trust almost non-existent. The Allies controlled different sectors of the city, and tension hung in the air like smoke that never fully cleared. Lieutenant Gail Halvorsen arrived as part of the U.S. Air Force, assigned to the Berlin Airlift. The mission was simple in theory and brutal in practice: keep West Berlin alive. When the Soviet Union blocked all ground routes into the city, planes became the only lifeline. Day and night, aircraft landed every few minutes, carrying flour, coal, powdered milk, whatever could keep 2 million people from starving. Halvorsen was young, earnest, and deeply aware that he was standing on the edge of history. But it wasn't strategy or politics that changed him. It was a group of children. One afternoon, while walking near Tempelhof Airport, he noticed them standing quietly by the fence. They weren't begging. They weren't shouting. They were just watching the planes with a kind of solemn fascination. He walked over, unsure what to say. His German was limited, their English almost non-existent, but kindness doesn't need translation. He reached into his pocket and found 2 sticks of gum, the only sweets he had. He broke them into pieces and shared them. The children didn't fight over it. They passed the wrappers around, smelling them, savoring even the idea of sweetness. That moment stayed with him. As he walked away, one of the children called out, asking when he'd come back. Halvorsen paused and made a promise he didn't fully know how to keep. He said he would wiggle the wings of his plane so they'd know it was him. And next time, he'd drop candy. It was a small promise. But small promises can carry enormous weight. The next day, Halvorsen tied candy bars and gum to little handkerchief parachutes. As his plane approached Berlin, he rocked the wings back and forth. Below, children pointed and ran. He released the bundles. They fluttered down like tiny miracles. Word spread faster than any official announcement. Children began gathering near the runways, eyes trained on the sky, waiting for the wing wiggle. They called him Der Schokoladenflieger, the chocolate pilot. Others called him the candy bomber. At first, it was just him. A quiet, almost secret act of compassion. But then other pilots joined. Soon, hundreds of thousands of candy parachutes fell from the sky. What started as 2 sticks of gum became over 23 tons of sweets dropped over Berlin. There were challenges, of course. Some officers worried it would distract from the mission or create chaos. Supplies were already stretched thin. But Halvorsen argued something deeper, that feeding the spirit mattered as much as feeding the body. That children who had only known war needed proof that the world could still be gentle. And it worked. Parents wrote letters of gratitude. Children saved the handkerchiefs as treasures. In a city divided by politics, candy became a symbol of unity. It wasn't about sugar, it was about dignity. About being seen. Halvorsen didn't see himself as a hero. He often said he was just doing what felt right. But decades later, those children, now grandparents, would tell the same story with tears in their eyes. They remembered the sound of engines, the flutter of white parachutes, and the realization that former enemies could become protectors. The Berlin Airlift ended in 1949. The blockade was lifted. Life slowly began to rebuild itself. But the impact of the candy bomber never faded. Schools invited Halvorsen to speak. Streets were named after him. His story became a lesson taught to new generations, not about warplanes, but about compassion. Because in the darkest times, hope doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it drifts down on a piece of string, wrapped in a handkerchief, reminding us that humanity can rise even when cities fall.